Hey, this is Shane from Blackland Razors, and today I'm going to talk about the differences between double edge razors and single edge razors. I'll go over some of the pros and cons of each, and at the end, I'll sum it up and try to give you some recommendations and a good framework to think about making this decision. There's a lot of razors out there to choose from, and this is a really important choice to make when you choose which direction you're going to go on your shaving journey. Do you pick the single edge platform or the double edge platform? I'm gonna give you a bunch of information today and put it in a nice little package at the end, put a bow on top so you can make the decision as simply as possible. All right, I have some DE blades and Artist Club blades laid out, Artist Club single edge blades, and of course our double edge Blackbird Light, the single edge Vector. We're gonna go over some of the differences between these two blades. So first, I wanna talk about the pros and cons of double edge blades. These are Persona Lab Blues. These are the blades that we ship with all of our Blackbirds and double edge razors. These are made in the USA. And these particular blades are awesome, but we're not here to talk about these particular blades. We're here to generalize. And some of the pros of these blades are that they're cheap. This pack sells for $16.50 from us, and these are one of the more expensive double edge blades. And they can be, this has 100 in them, but we go, all the way from 10 cents a piece to like 20 cents at the high end. And that means that these are super affordable. So much so that if you don't like a blade that gets a little worn, we have a lot of customers who will just toss these after one use just because they're so inexpensive. You're going to save a ton of money coming from a Mach 3 or another cartridge razor. So that is a huge pro, and frankly, for a lot of people, that's where the buck stops. Literally, they just go, "Hey, these are a penny a shave. I'm in." And that's all I need to know. But there are a few other things that you do need to know, guy. And one of them is that these are also easier to get than single edge blades. You can go down to Walgreens, CVS, and get one of these blades readily. Of course, they're also on Amazon, but if you're in a pinch, if you're traveling, these are the blades you're going to find. You're going to have a hard time finding those. But double edge blades are everywhere, so that's a really, really big benefit. The other benefit is that in addition to being everywhere, there's a lot of them. So there are dozens and dozens of double edge brands, and that means that you can pick the perfect one for you. So if you just like exploring and trying new things and you just want to try all the blades in the world, the double edge blades give you way more options. And differences between them are subtle, but they're real. There are real differences between all the blade brands. I always get tongue twisted on that. So you can really dial in the exact performance for you. People get really finicky on these, and that can be a lot of fun if you're just looking to try a lot of stuff. A lot more to try with DE than there is with SE. Now, some of the cons to DE blades are that they're narrower. As you can see, compared to the Vector, the Blackbird, is much narrower, and the blades themselves just have a much shorter cutting surface. So the cutting surface on a DE blade is about 37 millimeters, and the cutting surface on an SE blade is about 50. So you are reducing your cutting surface by like a quarter with the DE blades. Another reason that people might find a con to the double edge blade is that they are so thin. You can see they're very flexible, and that can make them a little less stable. They can chatter a little bit when you use them, as you can imagine. They're going to bend a little bit, they're going to flex if they're not held rigidly, and that can make them a little more likely to nick you. Of course, they're also very, very sharp because they're so thin, and that makes them a little finickier, a little more likely to give you nicks and cuts than an SE blade, which has a thicker blade and a slightly less sharp grind to it. So that's definitely one of the cons of DE blades. Another pro that I forgot to mention, by the way, is that these are double-sided. The most obvious thing about them, right? There's two sides to them. So it makes you, if you don't like rinsing, you don't have to rinse as much. Probably coming from a cartridge razor, you don't like rinsing. That's a big benefit here. You double your, blades basically, so that you can shave with one side, flip it, and shave with the other side. That's a huge benefit of this blade platform. Now let's talk Artist Club. So as you can see, here's one blade. This is the most common one. This is a Feather Professional blade. This is kind of the do-it-all, middle of the road blade. If you had to get one, you're you're probably gonna get these. So one of the pros, you can see, they come in this really cool cartridge, right? You just lock and load, boom, off you go, right? And they're pretty neat because on the bottom you have this disposable slot. And so when you're done with them, you just chuck this whole thing into the recycling, and that's pretty cool. That's one of the little benefits, but it's pretty neat. You know, if you like gadgets and stuff, it's a pretty cool little thing to own. But let's go on to the blade itself. So a big benefit to this blade is simply the rigidity that it has. As you can tell, compared to the DE blade, which I still have here. Look how much flex I have there. If I try to do that with the SE blade without cutting myself, I'm squeezing it, nothing's happening. And if I push to the side, you can see there's really not much to it. That means that these are, one, super stable. They don't have any of that flex, they don't have any of that chatter that we talked about with the DE blades. That makes them very consistent, very reliable, and that means you can get really predictable shaves. As you might imagine in shaving, predictability is really important. The next thing is because they're thick, two things happen. One, they last a lot longer. These last around 10 to 15 shaves. DE blades last around 2 to 5. We have customers who take these to 20 shaves. I don't know why you need to do that, but you could if you want to, and that's cool. We also talked about the cutting edge of this. It's much wider. It's about 50% wider than this guy, almost. So that means it's perfect for head shaving, perfect for leg and body shaving, and especially in something like the Vector. All right. Especially in something like the Vector, which is so narrow that you really get a lot of versatility with the Vector and with this blade that you simply don't get out of the DE blade. So if you're a head shaver, you got to get an SE razor, frankly. Especially something like the Vector that's so narrow and lightweight, so you can shave the back of your head with ease and comfort and efficiency as well. That's huge. But let's go on to an extremely important part of SE blades, and the part that I think might be the most important, and that is options. With DE blades, we talked about there's a lot of different types of them, right? A lot of different brands. But the reality is that they're all the same, just about. They have slight variances in the way that they cut and slight variances in the way that they're ground, but overall, they're going to shave, 95% similarly. Artisco blades are not that way. Artisco blades vary in performance in significant ways. So this is the Feather Professional, the one we talked about. As you can tell, it's a pretty straightforward, normal, standard blade. It has a regular cutting edge, and it's similar to the DE, just happens to be single edge, right? Nothing too noticeable here. And this is kind of the middle of the road blade. But then we go to something like this. This is the Feather Pro Guard. The Feather Pro Guard has these little guarded tips to it. And it actually covers the blade slightly and dramatically changes the way this blade shaves. Now, it's a little hard to show on camera, but you can actually see that there's a laminate layer of metal on top of the blade. And that makes these milder. It reduces the cutting surface and reduces that blade on your skin, which makes these a much smoother and more forgiving shave. So that's the Pro Guard. That would be your kind of your mildest blade. Then we move to something like the Feather Pro Super. This takes the same blade, and it's gonna be hard to show. It's gonna look the same to you, but it actually is, compared to the Feather Professional, the Feather Pro Super is actually wider in this orientation, in this direction. That means the blade sticks out a little bit more. And when it sticks out more, it's going to engage with your face more. You can get more blade exposure and also a little bit of blade gap, by the way. It's gonna make your razor much more efficient and much more blade forward. It's gonna have more blade feel, and it just changes the way it shaves in, again, a very meaningful way. This is gonna bump up your efficiency to whatever the max is, and you're gonna lose a little bit of comfort there, but you get to trade off always between efficiency and comfort. And so just the difference between these two blades makes SE a hugely important platform for those reasons, because it's already an adjustable without doing anything. You don't have to have adjustability in the razor to get adjustability in your shaves because of blade choice. That is something that DEs simply cannot provide in the way that SEs do. SEs are so meaningfully different from one another that you can really, really change the way your razor shaves. DEs let you kind of dial it in a little bit. SEs are hugely different from one another. But let's talk about some of the cons. Big one is these are largely going to be opposites of the pros for DE. Big con here is that these are expensive. These come out to be about $1 a blade, and that makes them, 5 to 10 cents per shave, depending on how you use them. So they're more expensive. And that means that you're taking a little bit of a risk if you choose this platform, because you're going to invest in probably 2 or 3 of these types. You want, I've already convinced you of the full range of possibilities. So you're going to get them all. And that means that you're going to be into these blades for, if you buy all 3 packs, you're going to be in around 50 or $60. And, that's significant. Plus the cost of a razor. And, it's pretty tough. The second thing that is a big downside to these types of blades is that they're hard to get. If you're traveling, you're not going to find these at Walgreens. These aren't at Target. You need to order them online. The good news is they're available, through Amazon. We also sell them, wink, wink, go buy those. So they are accessible, but they're not nearly as accessible as DE blades. And so in a pinch, you're screwed. You better make sure you have someone in the back. You better make sure you always have someone ready. And I wouldn't personally travel with these unless you're able to, either ship ahead or carry on, stow away, checked bag some of these. Do not expect to be able to get them when you arrive at your destination. That is never going to happen with single edge blades, but you could get away with DE blades. And so frankly, that is really the biggest cons for these blades is accessibility and options. The options are meaningfully varied, but relatively few, and they're expensive. Something to consider when you look at the SE blade. All right, I hope that info helped you understand the real technical differences between the Feather Artist Club, SE series, and double edge blades. But ultimately, as you notice, there isn't a pure winner. It's not obvious that DE is better than SE, and it's not obvious the other way around. Really, it comes down to your use and the individual user. You have to make these decisions for yourselves. I can't help you, but I can sum up what I recommend. And again, this is going to be different for everyone, but I'll give you my personal opinion, not really as a business owner, but as more of a, shaving expert. And for my money, if I were starting to use a safety razor, if I was brand new to the world of wet shaving, the world of shaving with a safety razor, I would pick single edge. I think that it is a versatile blade platform that makes it super adaptable. It's very user friendly. It grows with you. And I think the blades are, frankly, apples to apples, a little bit better if we can try to compare them directly. I also think that the Vector in particular makes these blades just a no-brainer. And I think that if you're coming from a cartridge razor, SE blades, especially in something like a Vector, is going to be a bit more forgiving and just a bit more intuitive coming from a cartridge razor. And if you're coming from a cartridge razor, you don't have a closet full of double-edged blades or 20 other razors that you need to use those blades from. So I would recommend the SE if you're starting from scratch. That's my personal recommendation. There are a lot of reasons not to go that way though. The DEs are generally cheaper. There are a lot more options for them, as we already went over. And so if you're just getting started out, people will recommend that you get a affordable, cost-effective DE razor because there's more of them. And it's hard to disagree with that. But frankly, I think that if you're brand new to this, will be a bit better off if you just pick the SE platform. If you're looking for one razor that does it all, it's really a platform that's going to grow with you. So that would be my recommendation. Let's say you have some razors, right? Let's say you have some DE razors, they're the most common type. Let's say you have already some blades ready. You've already invested in the double-edged blade platform. Is it worth it to jump to SE? And I think the answer really depends on what you want out of this new razor. Are you just trying to chase a better, closer shave, or do you want a new experience? If you're trying to get a better, closer shave, then frankly, there are tons of DE razors that will shave you incredibly close. And I would invest in a better DE razor. Maybe if you need more efficiency, maybe you go to something like a Blackbird or Blackbird Titanium. Now, if you want just a new experience, then yeah, get an SE razor. It kind of sucks because you have to invest in a bunch of new blades and try a whole new thing. But you've already mastered the DE world, right? You already have 20 of them. If you're like any of our customers, you already have dozens of these things. You've already tried them all, and you owe it to yourself to have a new experience. And the Artist Club blade platform is an incredibly different, distinct experience. It's really a totally different style of shaving overall, very different results, and it's a whole new thing to explore. So if you are trying to just broaden your horizons, try new stuff, you're getting bored of what you currently have, then yeah, try an SE. They're amazing. They are worth trying out, especially like the Vector. It's just so unique. But frankly, you don't need to. You know, if you already have DE razors, SEs are not better. I know I'm definitely picking SE in this comparison video. They're not better overall. I think they're more versatile. I think they're easier for beginners, and those are really huge pros. But you know, you don't need to switch if you're loving DE razors. Stick with what you got, unless you just want to explore, because there's really something to that investment of already having all those blades. But if you're brand new to shaving, and if I had to start from scratch today, I would just pick up a Vector, and personally, I'd probably just be done forever. I would get one razor, and I'd be set. One razor that does it all. And by the way, if you are head shaving or body shaving, definitely SE. No doubt about that. Anyway, that's my personal take. You know, let me know if you agree or disagree. DEs are the most popular razors by far for a reason. So probably a lot of you guys are gonna disagree with me, and I hope so. I wanna hear it. That's just my personal opinion, but I hope this video helps put that in context, and I hope to hear from you soon. Let me know what you think about this, and as always, like, subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.